this UFC card, where do you want to begin? Do you want to begin with Punk and the absurdity and the awesomeness, the sideshowy circus fight that we have on here? We've got a rising bantamweight, Jimmy Rivera, who we've talked to on the fullmountmma.com. You can find that. Just type in the search bar Jimmy Rivera on our website, thefullmountmma.com. We had a great interview with him talking his big fight against Uriah Faber. People are forgetting Uriah Faber's on this card, by the way. So you've got a brawl with Jessica Andrade and JoJo Calderwood. Fabricio Verdum is on this card against Travis Brown as a late fill-in. Of course, we got the heavyweights, Stipe Miocic and Alistair Overeem. Where do you want to begin?
Well, I mean, should we start with what everybody else is talking about, or do we go off on our own little tangent?
Well, let's talk. Fine, let's go into Punk, because this is the story of the week. It's overshadowing the main event, just strictly from a discussion standpoint.
Yeah. Because
we know what the main event's going to be. We know these are the two best heavyweights around. We think the third possibly being Verdum, who got, basically embarrassed because he didn't fight the way he normally fights at UFC 198, and he got dropped by Miocic. Rightfully so. Miocic played it perfectly, and that short-range power is absolutely ridiculous. But it's being overshadowed by the CM Punk debut against Mickey Gall, who won his lone UFC fight against Mike Jackson, part-time writer, part-time fighter, who is, no offense to him, a much better journalist than he is a fighter.
Oh, that's slow, man. That's slow.
He's a fantastic journalist. Don't get me wrong. But we have this thing. We have Mickey Gall, who, for all intents and purposes, only has 4 professional bouts under his resume and only 1 in the UFC. Like, this will be his 4th professional bout. He was found on Looking for a Fight, Dana White's reality show, right here in the wonderful state of New Jersey, which I reside in. And Gall's got, that we've seen, he's got that, killer instinct. He hunts, he goes after guys, he's the aggressor. And then we've got CM Punk, who the only footage we have of CM Punk actually training, he's been at Rufus Sports since the beginning, since this was announced back in December of 2014. It's been over a year and a half.
Yep. And let's not forget, too, he sporadically trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, too, while he was wrestling.
He had an interest in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a relationship with the Gracie family.
Yes.
When it comes to, so Punk had no, let's put it the way it is, Punk had really no athletic experience.
No MMA fighting.
Competitive athletic experience, in anything.
Yeah, but see, you get a little bit of shoot fighting in pro wrestling just because you got to know how to protect yourself.
Yes.
When somebody shoots on you. So, I understand what you're saying there. And plus, he's 37 years old, by the way. That's kind of getting skipped here.
Shoulder injury, herniated disc as well in this lead up to this fight. So he had a major shoulder injury that occurred in October of last year. Then he was finally healthy. Then they almost set the fight up. And then 3 days later, after he gets Gall as his opponent, I believe that was in February, he goes to undergo surgery for a herniated disc. So there were rumors he was supposed to fight at 199, at 200, at 202. Now we get him at 203. And watching him on the Evolution of Punk series, which if you can form two different opinions of CM Punk, whether you like him or you dislike him, regarding that whole thing, that final entry into the series, you see him triumphantly training, winning a practice bout. We don't know how much of that how much camera work looked great, and if that choke was really locked, because that was one of the weirdest chokes I've ever seen without underhooks. It was unusual. I'm not the first one to point that out. Trust me, it's been pointed out by a lot of different people. These are two green mixed martial artists. Gall is only 24. He's only had a couple of fights. Punk has never fought before in mixed martial arts. The issue was raised, I found this very interesting, and it's been reported widely. It was first raised by Combat Sports Law that a fighter seeking license in Ohio has to have 5 amateur bouts and a winning record in those contests. Gall and Punk do not fall under that category.
Mm-hmm.
However, a fighter may, quote, appeal to the executive director or to the commission to have this waived. Obviously, both were waived.
Imagine that.
It's not. But the thing that's been so bannered, talked about, and somebody asked Punk this in a media scrum prior to the fight this week, and he just shrugged it off like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And we all know CM Punk is a little bit prickly, and half of the time we don't know if he's healing up or that's legitimately his personality. You can like him, you can dislike him. That's the way he carries himself. So the quote, this was from the executive director, Bernie Perfetto of the Ohio Athletic Commission. CM Punk has a wrestling background similar to Brock Lesnar being permitted to fight in the past. Now, and he also stated there was also confidence in the matchmaker from the UFC and the bouts he had previously submitted in Ohio. This turned into like a meme because, as we know, Brock Lesnar, giant human being, heavyweight champion in amateur wrestling at Minnesota, All-American. He's had professional bouts before his debut in mixed martial arts. They're citing Lesnar when citing Punk. It's like it's like apples and roast beef sandwiches. Like this is not the same thing. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. What's your reaction? Like it just comes off looking really bad.
It looks really bad, but I think what happens is in Ohio they might consider pro wrestling under that banner.
That's what apparently it is. And they said it seriously.
It's just like, but I mean, the same thing happens in, is it Illinois? I think it's in Illinois too, as well.
Probably, yeah.
Like to get a license there, I'm sorry, not in Illinois, in Missouri. It's that way. That's why a lot of cards happen on the Illinois side of the border because you don't have to have a license to fight in Illinois. You do in Missouri. And when I was going up there it's a pretty strict little affidavit you have to fill out. I mean, it's not a thing, but I believe now that I'm thinking back on it, I think they mix it under one umbrella, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But
New York has a similar thing where like wrestling, professional wrestling, kind of falls under the umbrella of the state athletic commission. It's just a kind of a weird thing, and it was another thing that was kind of thrown out, and there's been a lot of different things thrown out about CM Punk's debut. Yeah. And this is, it's a sideshow. It's circus.
I mean, the only thing that can happen right now is for one of them to fail a drug test.
A failed drug test, an injury. We're almost there. We're right there. We're right on the cusp.
It's got to be happening soon, at least today or tomorrow. Somebody will stub a toe or something, be out.
So I ask you this because despite there's awesome fights on this card, much more technically skilled fighters. This is the third to last to go on. This features CM Punk. What do you think about this fight?
I mean, I kind of talked about it. Everything I've seen, look, I have nothing. CM Punk wanted to go into MMA. He left pro wrestling to go into MMA. He spent 2 years honing this craft. Is it enough? I don't think so.
I think
he's versing a guy. I mean, Mickey Gall. Look, he's only had so many. That guy looks.
He looks like a fighter.
He looks like a fighter compared to what I've seen of CM Punk. And again, are we seeing again? Look, they may be laying like, oh, this guy looks terrible on film, and then he comes out and he looks sharp. I don't know, but what I've seen is I haven't seen much of a fighter out of CM Punk.
We don't know. This is the thing. I can't write a TFM breakdown to put on the Full Mount MMA. I can't do it.
But we have seen Mickey Gall do it. That's why I think that's why I'm leaning toward Mickey Gall, because we've seen what he can do. We have no clue of what CM Punk can do. But then I'd go back to this because this is where it bit me in the butt with Dominic Cruz, because we hadn't seen him and he came out and he looked horrendous. But that is Dominic Cruz, not CM Punk. But again, it goes back to where, look, they could be doing a smoke screen on this. We don't know. I mean, look, you can make
cameras. Rufus isn't a dumb guy.
No, cameras you can make do whatever. I mean, there's some punches in there where Look, if I'm training this guy and some of those punches where he's throwing are legit, I don't know if I'm putting my name on this guy to send out to fight.
It legitimately looks like some of the worst sparring you've ever seen. This is coming from guys who watch the sport. We don't practice the sport. I wish I had time to spend in the gym.
Yeah, I wish I could get to the gym, but I might roll over and not be able to get up.
So we're looking at this and trying to use all of our, we see the same stuff that the public can see when it comes to punk. You can go to the gym and see how it goes. But when you see Duke Rufus's name, you see Anthony Pettis attached to this, you see Tyron Woodley attached to this. Yeah. This guy can't go out there and get knocked out in the first 5 seconds.
Or go out there and look like he has no clue of what's going on. And again,
he's a smart guy.
Somebody said it the other day was he had to have gotten better just by being a punching dummy for some of these other guys in the gym.
By osmosis. literally just being there. Punk's a smart dude, and he took this challenge on for a reason. Now, is he going to win on Saturday? I don't think so. You don't think so. Is he going to get knocked out in 10 seconds? We don't think.
I won't say I don't think, but
we don't, literally.
I don't know, but looking at what I just don't see other than him avoiding something in the first 10 seconds, I don't think it's going long, which is why I think UFC stacked this card.
Yeah, I always go back to this, one of my favorite fight adages. No one knows how somebody's going to react until they get punched in the face. Punk's going to get punched in the face by this kid. Is he going to be like, I've made a terrible mistake? Or is he going to, come back at him? And his skills might be off, and we don't know what Gall's going to do. Is he going to try to strike him? Is he going to take him down? We don't know. Yeah. And this is why this fight is so intriguing.
Yeah, but we don't even know, can CM Punk take a punch?
We don't know the answer to that. He looks in much better shape. That we do know. When you looked at him in the professional wrestling ring, you're
well, you're bloated up for TV. You're bloated up for TV for that. You want to look.
No, but he didn't look in shape. He just looked like a dude.
No, but he did for what his gimmick was. You know what I'm saying? He was that heelish character. It was kind of but he had that wrestling build where he looked like a wrestler on TV. Not I take, for instance, when you look at some of these guys now that they get out there to fight, they're the enhancement talent, as they call it, those guys don't even look like they belong there. CM Punk looked like he belonged there.
Yeah. So, I don't know what's going to happen. We're both picking Gall here because, if you want...
Just because.
Honestly, that's
No, it really is. You flip a coin. I just think the lack of experience for Punk and not being able to see him, I just can't think that he can make it happen, especially what I have seen or what they've let me see of what he has looked like.
And it's funny because I'm watching Dan Hardy and John Gooden on the UFC's YouTube channel. They do a fantastic job doing the inside the octagon stuff for breaking down fights. I heavily recommend checking it out and doing that stuff. And they left this fight to the end of their breakdown when it comes to Miocic and Overeem and those guys, and the last minute they spent on this fight. And you're looking at Dan Hardy, who's one of the brightest minds in mixed martial arts today, and Gooden, who's a fantastic commentator, and they're like, we don't know what the hell is going to happen. So, if those guys don't know, we don't know. The coaches don't know. Dana White has probably no idea. All we know probably is that CM Punk's going to come out to Cult of Personality. That's all I've gathered from that song being used at the end of his documentary series.
Yeah. Is there a chance it's a live performance?
That'd be sweet. I don't know when the last time those guys get together.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. Yeah.
But and even then, he swerved that question on the conference call, and he's like, I don't know. You'll have to tune in live. Punk is this sarcastic.
Well, he knows how to play the game, though. He knows how to play that game.
And that's what he does. Mm-hmm. And he's this guy who acts like he doesn't like anybody. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. We don't know. And that's
there's one thing is Channing Crowder was talking on the radio yesterday down here in South Florida.
Yes.
And they were talking about how
former Dolphins linebacker.
Yes, former Dolphins linebacker. Now he's on the radio down here. But he was talking about, who was it? Arian Foster. He doesn't like talking to the media.
Oh, Arian Foster is
now the
notorious for being this kind of sarcastic, I'm more intelligent than you kind of personality to it.
Yep.
And that's just the way he comes off.
Yeah.
I mean, from all indications, I hear he's a good dude.
Yeah. But what he was saying was that he's been around long enough to know how to dictate an interview. You're not going to be able to get over on him. He's going to tell you what he wants to tell you, and he's going to let you know what he wants you to know, but you're not going to be able to get anything over on him because he's heard it all before. Same thing with CM Punk.
Yeah.
You're not going to get something out of him that he doesn't want to tell you. He's just going to be a wise ass about it, honestly. That's what he's going to do.
And then meanwhile, Mickey Gall is like, "Oh, I want to talk to people. This is fun. Like, this is what we're supposed to do.
This could be his 15 minutes.
Bleep to each other. Like, and then Punk's like just looking at him like, this is not the way it goes, kid. So he may have the advantage from that standpoint. And Gall might rush in and try to do all these crazy things. It's like, I'm on the UFC. I'm fighting CM Punk. But
here's my question: What happens if CM Punk wins this? Mickey Gall's gone, right?
No, he said he has a multi-fight contract. I wrote, and he had a conference call, and I wrote an article that you see up on the website. He's got a multi-fight contract. That question was asked. He said he's got a multi-fight.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he's got to stick around. I mean, they can cut him.
I mean, they can do whatever they want because
I think if you lose to a guy that's never had a professional fight, I mean, I guess depending on how he loses or whatever, I just can't see that how do you...
In a perfect world, this thing goes 3 rounds and Punk wins via a decision that's not questionable.
And both men are bloodied and battered.
So there's no fixed accusations. I've seen that across the board. This fight has literally every angle you could imagine, and nobody's fought, which is, I find, insane.